Hi, I'm Terry Johnson, one of the co-authors of the Fuddlebrook Science Series, and today we're going to read Who Stole Herman Tweed? Tweed here, Herman Tweed. I'm the pet hamster in Mrs. Wigglebum's class at Fuddlebrook School. Now, I'm not your ordinary, everyday hamster. No way! How many other hamsters do you know who wear handsome tweed jackets and stylish caps? Or who can talk and go on all the class adventures? Speaking of adventures, Mrs. Wigglebum's class isn't ordinary either. There's always something going on, and the coolest thing of all, science. Liza, Bert, Freddie, and all the other students concoct, experiment, and try new things. Sometimes we make mistakes, sometimes it gets messy, but we always have fun and learn something every day. After all, that's the way it is with great scientists, and lucky me, I'm right in the middle of it. Sound interesting? Come on, follow me. We've got a lot of exploring to do. Friday morning at Fuddlebrook School was always busy. Art, music, and science were on the schedule, so were reading and journal writing. Mrs. Wigglebum's students entered the classroom ready to begin their day. "Did you get your art project finished, Freddie?" Liza asked. "You do know it's due today, don't you?" Freddie looked at his friend Bert. "Why does she always bring up due dates? She just spoiled my morning." Bert laughed as he hurried to hang up his backpack. "Sorry, I can't help you with this one, Freddie. I have to feed Herman breakfast before we go to art class." Bert scurried to get Herman's favorite breakfast, corn cereal with peanuts and seedless apple slices. As he approached the cage, Bert could tell something was wrong. Terribly wrong. The cage door was open and there was no sign of Herman. "Oh no!" Bert yelled. "Where's Herman?" The children and Mrs. Wigglebum ran toward Herman's cage to see why Bert was so alarmed. "Did anyone take Herman out of his cage?" Mrs. Wigglebum asked. All of the children shook their heads no. "We just got here," Liza replied, her eyes wide. "I haven't seen Herman since yesterday afternoon." "Someone stole Herman!" Freddie yelled. "And if I find out who did it, I'm going to, he sputtered and waved his arms wildly. "Freddie, stop," Mrs. Wigglebum said sternly. "Let's not jump to conclusions." Freddie quit talking, but his face was red and his eyes sparked with anger. "What's this?" Liza asked as she pointed to a white powder on the floor that led from the classroom door to Herman's cage. "Someone was in our room before we arrived." "Look," Bert added, "there's a red marker beside Herman's cage too. It must have fallen out of the thief's pocket. It's another piece of evidence." "Boys and girls," Mrs. Wigglebum said louder than usual, "let's all calm down. Bert is correct. There are pieces of evidence that we must look at very carefully. This is called observation. Good scientists observe, question, and analyze information before jumping to a conclusion. They use all their senses to help them gather information too. We have white powder and a red marker. Is there anything else unusual?" Freddie immediately spoke. "I smell something different. It smells like a pine tree in here." The other children sniffed the air. "Hey, he's right," Liza said. It was unusual for Liza to agree with Freddie. Just then, Mr. Snizzle, the principal, walked in. He was taking his last bite of a powdered sugar donut. Sugar covered the front of his blue shirt and encircled his mouth. He carried a note to Mrs. Wigglebum. It was written in red ink. The room suddenly also smelled like a forest of, you guessed it, pine trees. "Good morning, class. How is everyone today?" Mr. Snizzle asked cheerfully. He was totally unaware that the evidence pointed to him. "Mr. Snizzle," Freddie whispered to Bert, Why would Mr. Snizzle steal Herman Tweed? Bert shrugged his shoulders. Mr. Snizzle handed the note to Mrs. Wigglebum and turned to walk out the door. "Oh, by the way," the principal said, "I took Herman Tweed for his annual checkup at the veterinarian. I will pick him up at noon." "You did take Herman Tweed," Freddie said. "We knew it was you when you came into the room with the powdered donut and a note written in red pen. It all matches the evidence." Freddie didn't mention the aftershave. He was afraid it would not be polite to tell Mr. Snizzle he smelled like a forest. "Of course, Freddie," Mr. Snizzle replied. "I came and got him early this morning for his appointment." He turned to Mrs. Wigglebum. "Don't you remember? I told you last week that today was the day." Mrs. Wigglebum smiled as she spoke. "Mr. Snizzle, Herman's appointment is next month on this day, not today. But I am very glad the children got an unexpected early morning lesson on how scientists solve problems. We thought Herman had been stolen. They observed, communicated, predicted, inferred, and concluded you were the culprit." Everyone laughed, Mr. Snizzle the loudest of all. "I had better go get Herman since he is a month early for his appointment. By the way, has anyone seen my favorite red pen? I think I left it somewhere." Bert handed over the red pen he had found on the table. "Here you go, sir. I guess we won't need to keep the evidence since you admitted to the crime." Mr. Snizzle's face turned as red as his pen. It had been a very exciting morning. The end. Excuse me, we're not through. There's still a lot for you to do. Don't forget the science experiment in the back of the book. Have fun, thank you, and be safe from all of us to you.